I'm not a LeBron fan, but stop blaming him. If you see the last two games, Knicks and Minnesota had awful games. Please check the three-point percentage shots. They were missing open three shots. Honest, give your take. Okay. Well, this is a good transition to our next topic. Lakers now are 10-2 without LeBron and when Luka and AR play. 10-2. All right, let's have the conversation. If there's ever a time to have the conversation, we're going to have it right now. Let me just first say this. Clearly, when it's Luka and AR and the rest of the guys are role players, it's safe to say everybody knows their role. That's safe to say. I think, can we all agree on that? That part is safe to say. Clearly, when it's Luka and AR is a much more aggressive player and is a much better version of himself when it's those two players playing together. Again, 10-2 it's a good enough sample size. That's about, it's over 10% of the season, maybe 12%, 15, not exact, 12.5%, something along those lines of the season where those two have played together without LeBron James, and they're 10-2. Clearly, Austin Reeves knows I don't have to take a back seat to two other guys. Clearly, Austin Reeves has the green light to be the best version of himself, and I don't have to tell you guys how important Austin Reeves is to the Lakers. Here's, I think, the better question. Instead of asking the question, are the Lakers better without LeBron James? Or asking the question of, or not even a question of a statement, you got to get LeBron out of there ASAP or cut LeBron. I don't know what people are saying. I mean, I'm sure everybody has a different opinion. Here's, I think, the better question in regards to this conversation. And thank you very much for the 10 spot, brother. That's very, very kind of you to do that. So thank you very much for doing that. Here's the better question. How do they make LeBron, Luka, and Reeves work? Because I don't need to tell anybody on here, they're going to have these three players the rest of the season. And yes, I do think they're better off having LeBron than not having LeBron. So the question comes down to, how can you make it work? That's the question. The question is not get rid of LeBron. All right, you're probably not going to have LeBron after this season anyway, so that's naturally going to happen. I mean, before the season even started, we were already having that conversation about LeBron James, and the conversation was he was going to opt into his contract, which he did. He didn't get an extension. There's a lot of signs pointing that probably this is going to be LeBron's last season with the Lakers. There's a lot of signs pointing that Luka and AR are going to be the two guys that kind of lead the franchise moving forward. And listen, you got to have a pretty damn good complement of players after that because they're not perfect. And those two guys, to be their best, it's going to be on the offensive side. So you got to find other players that work as well. Here's what's happened when LeBron is gone. You want to point out other teams' shooting percentage? That's fine. Yes, the Knicks have been bad, and so have the Minnesota Timberwolves in these last two games. Lakers are playing good defense. There is better defense out there right now. I mean, look at how bad Anthony Edwards was. He was 1 of 10 from the three-point line yesterday. Every shot Anthony Edwards took, there was a hand in his face. They were all over Ant. So as we sit here today, let's not pretend that the team has not played two really good games, and both of those games were without LeBron James. But I'm going to go back to my original question. How do they make it work? I'll throw some ideas out there. Okay? The pecking order needs to be, because this is what was happening before, and I had mentioned this a couple different times, that right now it was Austin Reeves was the player that had to adjust his game the most of the three. Luka doesn't adjust jack-ish because he's Luka Doncic and he's a top 3 player or a top 5 player in the NBA. And actually, I think Luka needs to adjust his game a little bit as well. I think there are times where he can allow Austin Reeves or encourage Austin Reeves, kind of almost like he said to DeAndre Ayton, to say, hey, go do your thing. But, that's what, if you're a top 5 player in the league, there's a lot of times the only person you have confidence in is yourself. Luka's not going to adjust his game. So what it's going to come down to it's going to come down to two different players that are going to need to figure this out. And the question is going to come down to, what should LeBron's role be when those three players are in a game together? What should Austin Reeves' role be when he's in a game with obviously these two other players as well? It seems to me what the solution should be is, if you have a pecking order, let's adjust that pecking order here for a second. Luka eats first, Austin Reeves eats second, and LeBron James, because he's got the ability to kind of play and put on all these different hats, should be the one that eats third. Is that a good solution there? Is that a kind of a safe way to kind of figure this thing out? Maybe LeBron, you stagger him. Maybe it's LeBron. Again, I don't think LeBron's coming off the bench. I heard yesterday, now it's Robert Horry and James Worthy that are both saying maybe Austin Reeves should be the guy coming off the bench and let him kind of run an offense on his own. I've been a proponent of that here for the last couple of weeks, so we'll see if that eventually happens. But you don't have to start or come off the bench and still kind of have a little bit of a pecking order. And one of the things I will compliment LeBron, and if you can't compliment LeBron on this, then I don't know what to tell you. LeBron can put on different hats. Luka can't. Austin Reeves can't. What the reason why LeBron will go down as one of the greatest players in NBA history, what do you need me to do? You want me to run point? You want me to be a center? You want me to be a power forward? You want me to be a wing? You want me in the corner? You want me on the ball? LeBron could do everything. That's what he's done his entire career. But I think if we're trying to figure out how to make LeBron, Luka, and Reeves work, you got to change up these recipes a little bit. You can still use all three recipes, but you got to use them at a different time. And when you are using them, instead of putting so much pepper and it's overwhelming everything, a little bit less pepper. And I think right now there is a solution to making these three work. And part of that solution, from my perspective, is how you use them and when you use them. Let's not pretend the Lakers haven't been really good these last two games. And they were really good without LeBron James. So it's a very fair conversation to have about, hey, are they better off using LeBron differently? Are they better off as Reeves as the second best, most important player on this team on the offensive side of the ball? There's a lot of reasons why I think the Lakers won these last couple of games. And I think it's a fair conversation to have in regards to LeBron, and I think it's a fair conversation to have in regards to what the Lakers do from here. But they got some figuring out of how to use LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Luka Doncic together. By the way, I'm not even talking about when they're on the court together, because I think they'll end games together. And this is also up to JJ Redick. A lot of this is also going to fall on JJ. If LeBron's not having a great game and he's struggling and he's hurting you when he's on the floor, sub him out. It's okay. I mean, if the idea and the concept here is to win, there's no LeBron's career isn't going to change if he's playing a few less minutes because the Lakers are trying to win some games and he's 41 years old. But what LeBron can do, Luka can't do, neither can AR. Luka and AR do not have it in their arsenal to wear all these different hats. If I'm Austin Reeves, I'm the best version of myself. I need the ball in my hands. I need to get downhill. I need to start cooking. I need to facilitate. I need to hit threes. I need to get to the basket. I got to hit free throws. That's Austin Reeves in a nutshell. If you want the best version of Austin Reeves, it's got to be that. Luka, obviously his own style. I got to take 25 shots a game. I got to have the ball in my hand 16 seconds of the shot clock, 18 seconds of the shot clock, whatever it is. That's what makes those two players great. LeBron can put on different hats. I think he's going to have to put on a different hat for the Lakers. So for me, there is a way to make LeBron, Luka, and Reeves work. But the current structure and how it's been in the past, that's going to have to change if the Lakers are going to get the most out of this roster that they possibly can. That's part of my opinion there in regards to those three players. There was a good article. Let me find this article real quick. There was a good article in the California Post. I think you guys know this. They have the New York Post. They started a California Post. They grabbed a couple of people, Kobe Price, who's been a guest of this show, Melissa Rowland, who's done a great job covering the Lakers and the NBA as well. She had an article this morning, and let me see if I can find this. Her article. And the article says, narrative that Lakers are better without LeBron James is bogus. And she goes into, look, these are his stats on the year. At 41 years old, he's still averaging 21 points a game, 7 assists, 5.6 rebounds, 50% from the field. She said that she kind of said something in reference to it could be a coaching problem. It's a buy-in problem. It's not a LeBron James problem. So she goes into her points of why she doesn't think the Lakers are better off without LeBron James. Maybe I'm a little bit more in the middle on this. I think they got to find a solution. And JJ Redick, that's going to be his responsibility to find a solution. And I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, because it probably isn't. Trying to find a solution with a legend like LeBron James and, somebody that's going to have to swallow his pride in certain situations of a game, I think that probably is not the easiest thing to do. But let me throw this at you guys, because I think this is really important to know. The Lakers are 18-3 when Austin Reeves scores at least 20 points. So why don't we do this? We know Austin Reeves has a capability to score 20 in his sleep. Find ways to make Austin Reeves the best version of himself, and maybe the Lakers become the best version of themselves. Like I said before, I got a compliment and all this with LeBron James. The compliment is he could put on different hats, and I don't think Luka and Austin Reeves can. I think they're one-trick ponies, and I think LeBron is, well, I've been doing this my entire career. I could play all 5 positions. I can be on the ball, off the ball, whatever the case is. Obviously, that's going to be important. The bigger question is going to be, how much does the Lakers defense suffer when it's Luka, LeBron, and AR? And that's really the biggest issue. I think a lot of times we get stuck on the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side, how great they've been these last couple of days. Guys understand their role. And obviously without LeBron there, or without Luka there, without AR there, you have 3 guys that are not good on defense that are usually in the game at the same time. In the month of March, by the way, I'm going to point this out for Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves' scoring has only increased. Now, he's set a really low bar for himself, but you could see where it's heading. 12 points versus the Kings, 15 versus the Pelicans, 16 versus the Nuggets, 19 versus the Pacers. And these last couple of games are the only games, in my opinion, where it's been a closer version of Reeves. 25 points versus the Knicks, 31 points versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. And like I said, 18-3 when Austin Reeves scores at least 20 points. 18-3 when he scores at least 20 points, which is kind of shocking, because, he should be doing that in his sleep based off of how good he's been for the Lakers. One quick quote here, and then I want to take a look at some of the comments here. James Worthy on Austin Reeves postgame. LeBron's out right now, but when they start the substitution back up again, this guy needs the ball in his hands a lot in order for him to be efficient and productive. Now, if he had the ball in his hands a lot and the Lakers were losing and he wasn't efficient nor productive, then that's a different conversation. I kept emphasizing it yesterday in the postgame show that one of my favorite features about Austin Reeves that does not get highlighted enough, we don't talk about it enough. One of my favorite features of Austin Reeves is this man's got the ability to go out there and create for others as well. Get you 7, 6, 7, 8 assists a game. And that's when Reeves is going to be the best version of himself, is when that's happening. Thank you very much for watching the clip, and thank you very much for supporting the channel. Please support our partners as well. HarrisSoCal.com if you're looking for a beautiful getaway in Southern California. Again, the website, HarrisSoCal.com, official casino and resort of Hoopstock.